Dia ver fad, agus fáilte chuig an fiseán. That's Irish for hello everyone and welcome to the video. So right about now you might be wondering, what are you doing with all these ballpoint pens, Megan? I want to see if I can get into a new endeavour. So a few things. First of all, ballpoint pens are cool. Second, you might remember a video I did recently with ballpoint pens. After that, and there were like different cards for different people. One of the people I gave a card to said that I should try doing pet portraits and selling them, or like offering to do pet portraits for people. Hashtag alliteration. And so I thought that I would do a bit of a tester to see how that might work. So I think that it would be good to use watercolour paper because it's got a bit of a grain in it. I've got some pictures of my cousin and nanny's dog. I got them each to tell me what colours of ballpoint pen they wanted me to use. But I feel like before I get down to it, I should do a swatch session of all these ballpoint pens to see which ones are juicy enough to actually use. This pen can be officially binned. I narrowed it down so that I've got a couple backups for ones that are almost completely gone, just a couple of them. There's quite a distinct difference between these two greens and between these three blues. And I think that I kept two reds, one more orangey red and one more rosy red. I mean, it's really hard to tell though. But I wanted to try to get the fullest range that I had. So this is what we're working with now. My nanny said that she wanted these two colours for this drawing. And my cousin said purple and yellow for this drawing, and then I asked if you wanted one more colour, what would it be? Because yellow is a very, very pale colour. And she said blue, which means I've got 3 blues to choose from to interpret that, but I guess I'll just see what happens as I start drawing. And I'm probably going to add another colour to this as well, something that I choose, because I think it's better to give someone like 2 choices so that then I've got some creative freedom. I'm going to sketch with an orange pencil, because I don't want to go straight in with ballpoint pen when I'm trying to get something accurate. You might have noticed I also spent some time filtering the piece. Well, the photograph at the beginning to try to help it match the colours I was going to be using better, just to make it easier to imagine what the piece needs to look like and where I need to put the different colours. That's always quite a helpful thing to do. So like I edited it to make it look more green and orange. But as far as this, can I say something about my process? Oh, for one thing, I really liked the nose on this, like the process behind that, like layering up from the yellow and then putting green ovals on it, and then to really add the punch, those black ovals. I really like the colours in this drawing. I wouldn't have picked those naturally maybe, but I'm glad my nanny chose those 2 colours, green and orange. I'm just cutting it out now. I started this at about 7:30 and it's just past 9 now, so it took me an hour and a half. Not shabby for an hour and a half. And I have to figure out what that would mean for the pricing, because I don't think I could do something to this size much faster than that. Things have turned into such a mess now. I'm gonna have to figure out like a good place to sign it and a good colour to sign stuff in as well. I'm gonna do a swatch sheet now on this leftover piece of card, because it's good to have the swatches on the paper you're actually using. And I'm so glad that I use this, because like there's like you can see the indentation almost through this. If I'd been using softer paper, it would not have handled it. Watercolour paper is very good for this, even though I'm not using watercolour. I'll probably end up using the lightest blue possible, because then it's like a mid-tone between the dark purple and the lighter yellow. I entirely rubbed out and reworked the face 3 times as I was sketching this. I'm so glad I was using a pencil and not just going straight for it in ballpoint pen. It was a much more complicated angle that I was attempting here, but his little paw is so cute. I just realised about this process from doing this is that I feel like my orange and my pink are like the 2 best mid-tones that I have, and I think the drawings look best when you've got yellow and well, obviously the pencil sketch, and then yellow, and then either pink or orange. This blue is just a step too dark for this. I mean, maybe for a different sort of animal that could work better. And for this kind of process, I think that you need one of those not as pale as yellow colours, but not as dark as blue. I think the green is another good mid-tone. I think that I should group these colours into some different way so that people aren't choosing two colours that are too dark. I mean, someone could choose two of the mid-tones maybe, like that's an option, because this worked well with the orange and yellow and green. Obviously yellow and purple definitely wasn't work, I needed something in between, but then this blue was too dark. What am I thinking? So like yellow's the palest colour that just sort of can fit into anything. And then you've got your pink and orange, and like possibly the greens would work too as the mid-tone range. I mean, green sort of between mid-tone range and dark range. I could probably split them into these groups. So this group. Obviously black is just like the final colour you put down to really make things pop. So someone has to pick one of these colours, and then they can pick one of these colours, or they could pick two of these colours. I also decided to make the margin quite big. It's 1 inch, and that seems like a fair amount to give someone because it just looks better when there's a nice margin around something. And then if someone wants to frame it, you need a bit of a margin so it can fit into a frame, or they could trim the margin down themselves. It just looks better. I've done pieces that don't have much of a margin and they're just not as good looking. I think I'm gonna leave it there now. So there's a couple of things that I've realised from this. Obviously what I said about the colours. Another thing is that I think it'd be better to keep to more simple portrait of animals rather than, I mean, this is sort of a portrait, but it's such a complicated reference image. I don't think I'll even put that up as like, this is the kind of stuff I can do, because I then proceeded to spend the next couple of minutes complaining about everything that was wrong with this piece. And that was only because I just finished the piece. I just need to like get a bit of distance from a piece when I first finish it. So the first thing is that this one did take 2 hours, but like that's only half an hour longer than my other one. And honestly, it would probably be safer to build how much I price these pieces or this service around 2 hours. It's more realistic and reasonable. And like, you know, I enjoy doing artwork, so I don't see what the big issue was in my brain with that. And you know, even better if I made money off it. Another thing was worrying about getting sent reference pictures that were too complicated, like how I chose quite a complicated picture to draw there and thought that I hadn't accomplished it well enough, but I can get people to send a couple of pictures of their animal and choose myself which one I could do the most justice to. Another thing that this drove home to me is the importance of maintaining contrast and making more considered colour choices. Like for example in my first piece, really making sure I maintain those whites and using probably a maximum of 4 colours. I mean, it's obviously going to depend on the case, but I'm really glad that I've done this because it's sort of pushed my boundaries. If I was able to do this, then I'll probably be able to do most things that people would send. Also, one thing I wanted to mention, this collar feels really cool. It feels like what that kind of material really feels like. And the nose feels really cool too. So I'm going to show my family this now and see what they think. Well done, that's a spare. And actually, when I showed other people and I asked which one's your favourite, most people said that they actually preferred the pink one, the second one I did, contrary to what I thought. Of course, I also put these drawings up on Redbubble on loads of products. But the main point of this video was that basically I'm going to be doing pictures of people's pets now. So you can head onto my Instagram if you're interested in that and send me a message asking about that. Something, the coincidence, or I think it is, a friend actually asked me today, will you draw a picture of this dog so that I can give it as a card to someone? And then when my friends saw the drawings I did in this video, they were like, oh, you should be doing commissions for people to draw their pets. And that's exactly what I was planning on. Okay, so have a great week. I'm gonna go get that sorted.